Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. It's our podcast that we do 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can see it live on the Miguel and Holly and the Hits 961 Facebook page and on the Miguel and Holly YouTube channel. Also, make sure to look for other podcasts like Miguel and Holly Full Show or Miguel and Holly Queen City Confessions or Miguel and Holly's Blown Off. You can listen to all of our podcasts. You can binge on demand anywhere you listen to podcasts. All of them. We have a very special guest today. Super excited to talk about this because the news broke over the weekend, or was it last week when it was announced?
No, it was over there. It was like, well, we knew that the episode was coming, but until it aired, we didn't know what the outcome was, obviously.
Yes. And so we would like to welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored and to the Platypus Posse, Mr. Anthony Denning from Another Food Truck.
Woo! Chef extraordinaire.
Yes. So you are being talked about all over Charlotte and North Carolina because you just won a reality show.
Yeah, it feels surreal. I couldn't really. I don't know. It just came out of nowhere. So yeah, it feels surreal for sure.
The show being chopped, by the way, and it has to feel surreal because it's like you're just doing your thing, and then all of a sudden you're on TV, and now everyone's like, "Oh, we know him," and you're like, "Whoa, where did this come from?"
Exactly.
Is it kind of like RuPaul's Drag Race where everyone gets filmed like that you won and then you don't find out till it gets aired? Or did you know and then you probably signed like a contract or something that you couldn't say anything?
Okay, so yeah, I knew I won, but I couldn't tell anyone else.
Right.
You got to keep it, keep everything confidential.
Right.
Wow, that's
funny.
so amazing. So you won Chopped. You have another food truck here in Charlotte, and $10,000 was the prize money, right?
Yep. It was 10 grand. Yep.
Wow. All right. So let's talk about because we have to spend a moment talking about the food truck because I've been looking through the Instagram and I'm just like,
Miguel's thing is food, just to make it very clear and plain up front. Like Miguel, kind of like just a food fan.
Yes.
So we're gonna spend some time talking about your food.
Yes, we will. But I want to talk about what led up to you getting on Chopped. How did that process work?
So basically, I had been getting like emails and stuff like that from Food Network for like different stuff, pretty much Food Network for different stuff. And I kind of thought it was a scam. Like I wasn't answering them. I was like, no, this is too good to be true. How y'all get my information? Just thinking silly. So this time I actually ended up responding. I think it was a call, I want to say. So it was a little bit different. So I ended up responding, ended up talking to him, and it was legit. So I was just kind of like, all right, let's do it. I was pretty nervous. I didn't know what to expect, but I just was like, gun ho to go ahead and try to compete and have fun. So,
wow. So what is the premise of the show if someone hasn't seen the show Chopped before?
So you're being timed. It's 3 rounds: an appetizer, entree, and dessert, and then you have a mystery basket full of items that are crazy most of the time. The name of my episode was "More Cheese, Please." So I was on a cheese themed episode. So all of our baskets had like different cheeses or anything to do with cheese we had to use in every single basket. So it's like 2 30-minute rounds, 1 20-minute round.
Oh my gosh. So when you're there filming, what's going through your head as you're like, all right, I got to like do Charlotte proud. I got to make my food truck proud. I got to make my family, my friends. What's going through your mind when you unbox and you just see all the cheese stuff there?
Honestly, I'm not even thinking about making anybody proud at that moment. Like, the only thing I can think about is what am I going to do with what's in front of me? Like, and then once that processes, then my mind goes to, all right, I got to make sure I do something that is other people are going to be proud of and appreciate. So yeah, but in the very beginning, when you first open up those baskets, you don't have time to think about nothing else except for what am I going to make.
And how does it come to you? I watch Food Network a lot, probably more than I should admit. But like in almost any of their competition shows, I always think to myself, so you get shown your ingredients. How does your brain work so fast? Like, how do you pull from, okay, what recipe do I know? Can I do well? Will work with these ingredients? How does it work? Like, you open it up, you see what you have. Do you even know what the process is and how fast it goes to like, here's ingredients. How am I going to make a winning dish?
Honestly, that at that point it comes down to, like, for me at least, I only try to make stuff that I know how to make. So therefore, my stress wasn't trying to figure out what to make. It's trying to figure out how to make these ingredients fit into what I already have in my mind. So
That makes
that's
sense.
more of it. Like, a lot of people were like questioning why I did like a cornbread cake in my last round, and I did that because I'm not a baker, but I have a cornbread recipe etched into my brain. So can I take this cornbread recipe and turn it into a dessert rather than me trying to do something I'm not comfortable with?
And obviously you won. I feel like people that win, it doesn't really matter like creativity wise, or like, oh, you did this fancy thing on the top and the presentation is so good. Like, it matters whether it tastes good or not.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I'm that my food in general is not all the little dainty, you know what I mean? Like, I like that stuff. Like, I'm a culinary school graduate. I can do it. But for me, I like to cook things that I would eat and that I feel like other people would appreciate and want to eat as well. So flavor is always at the top of the list for me.
And that's obviously, I think that's what took you over the finish line. The timing. The second question I have, other than like, how do you figure it out? Is the timing truly the hardest part? Because you see sometimes on shows like Chopped, people just underestimate the short amount of time that you have.
The timing is super important. Like, you just have to basically, for me, I think about it like, if I need to cook something, I need to either pound this protein out or I need to cut this vegetable as small as I can cut it so it can cook in the amount of time. Like, chose something pretty risky. I did a potato soup in the first round, and I had to slice the potatoes super thin to get them to cook in time. So the timing is big for me. As long as I finished each round within the time limit, I just felt like I was going to be successful. So yes, the timing is a huge thing.
Got it.
What was
Makes
it
sense.
like when they said, you win, you're the winner, $10,000? What was going through your mind?
I, my mind kind of went blank, honestly. Like, my wife was pregnant at the time, and our son was like probably maybe a month out. So the first thing I thought about when I actually found out I won after going blank was my son. I was just like, I can't wait for him to get older and for me to show him that. Because I just feel like that's very important for fathers to, number one, be present, and number two, be able to accomplish things to show their sons and their daughters as well.
I love that so much. Now let's talk about your food truck. How would you describe your food truck if someone hasn't had it before?
So I think at this point with this menu, I think the food truck is kind of like a nice mashup of everything that food trucks are kind of known for. So we have like the hot chicken smash, which is a Nashville hot grilled cheese. We have loaded mac and cheeses, fries, burgers. We run specials. We just like to, try different things and be adventurous. If you're the type of person that likes boring, simple food, then our food truck is definitely not for you.
And I'm just looking through your Instagram now. So for those of you that are listening, you can look up the Instagram for another food truck. But for those of you that are watching, you can obviously see some of these menu items. What sort of mac and cheese is that you all have?
So we have a seafood mac and cheese, which contains crab, spinach, tomatoes, blackened shrimp, and panko bread crust. And then we have like our regular mac and cheese, which we call crack mac, which is just a 5-cheese mac and cheese, topped with breadcrumbs as well.
Love it.
I am just sitting here looking at all of this.
Drooling.
So tell me what else.
Oh,
What's that?
So what is this right here we're looking at?
I believe that is a hot shrimp a hot shrimp mac and cheese. We used to have a mac and cheese that we used to call hot mac. It was like Nashville hot chicken on mac and cheese. I think somebody wanted it with shrimp right there.
Ooh,
Mm.
my goodness. So, what is your sort of dish that you tell people to try at your food truck if it's their first time there?
If it's their first time, if they like stuff that's spicy, I would say a hot chicken smash is probably the first thing that I'll suggest to someone. Followed by like the fish sandwich. The fish sandwich is really good as well.
Ooh, I love a good fish sandwich.
This is just this right here is just so pretty. Like it just
I know. Like I'm hungry. I haven't eaten, so that's cool. Thanks, Miguel.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
and that's the hot chicken smash right there. That's exactly what I was just talking about.
Now, when did you start your food truck?
So actually, it's kind of a crazy situation. So we actually started 5 years ago under another name. It was 225 Street Food. Then about 2 years ago, me and my business partners decided to part ways, and me and my wife took over the business full time, and that's where you get another food truck. So another food truck is like 2 years old, but the truck in general is about 5 years old.
Do y'all have any plans for having like a brick and mortar store somewhere?
Yes, what we ultimately want to do is move into a food hall. So any food hall people or anyone who knows anyone who may be renting space, we're not really looking for like a full-fledged restaurant. I don't really want to do too much with service. I would rather just deal with the food and the food only. Especially, post-pandemic and being a small business, I don't want to stretch myself too thin. So
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge in starting your food truck? Because, they always say that running a restaurant or a food truck is one of the hardest things that you can venture out and do on your own. What was the biggest hurdle when you started?
definitely the capital. We started with no working capital at all.
Mm.
So it was like every day was like, you buy the food, hopefully we sell it. You buy the food, hopefully we sell it. But it's definitely been some ups and downs. But ever since the rebrand, we've been doing pretty well. So I can't complain.
And
That's
so
good.
is it just you and your wife that are working the truck, or do y'all have like a staff now?
Oh yeah, for sure. We have a staff. We have, I'd say, probably about 5 or 6 employees total that help us out throughout the process. But yeah, family definitely comes into play a lot. Friends, I'm learning about the friends part, but family definitely comes in and helps a lot.
That could be tricky.
I had a
Yeah, it
question
can be
about
very
that.
tricky.
How much of your recipe do you give out to your employees and friends and family that work on the food truck with you? Like, where's the fine line? Are things maybe prepped beforehand? How does that work?
So right now I do most of the prep myself. So
Okay.
like most of the help that I get is like when we're actually working the event, like people actually cooking with me, people running the register, things like that. But most of the prep is done by me, so I kind of have like control over the recipes for the most part, and kind of making sure that they're as consistent as possible. So.
So awesome. Is there any more TV things you have in your future that you're hoping to do or that are in the works?
Not there's nothing on the books right now, but I would like to continue to do more TV if at all possible. If the opportunity comes, we're definitely not turning it down. So, I don't know if anybody from Food Network may see this or the cooking channel, any of that, but I'm available.
I feel like once you're on the Food Network, they kind of go back to the same well because you see a lot of people that end up on like Chopped or suddenly in Guys Grocery Games or suddenly in maybe Beat Bobby Flay. Like it almost feels like they know you, they can trust you, and they're like, we have some other business propositions. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully that would be really cool.
And lastly, where can people follow you online, on social media, so they can devour all of this delicious food you have?
So you can follow us at Another Food Truck. Matter of fact, here go my shirt. Another Food Truck on Instagram. Another Food Truck on Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Anotherfoodtruck.com. So it's a couple different ways to get to us. I'm redoing the website right now, though, so don't go to anotherfoodtruck.com right now. But
Under construction.
Facebook and Instagram for sure. We post our schedule once a week to show where we're gonna be at for the week, so you can just kind of catch us.
I love
Good.
it. I need to set something up so you can come to my apartment in Uptown because they have food trucks come. So we'll have to make that happen.
Okay.
And then real quick, how did you get the name Another Food Truck?
So we named it another. So I didn't actually name it. My wife named it another food truck because when we had the transition from the last business partners, she was just like, just call another food truck. That's what you're gonna do anyway. Open up another truck. So I was like joking. She was joking with me, and then it kind of stuck. I figured it was kind of catchy, and then as we continue to brand and do different things, we're kind of gonna keep the another situation going, and that's why our menu is actually all of the items that food trucks are kind of known for, and we put our spin on it. So it's like another fish sandwich, another mac and cheese, so forth and so on.
You're like the DJ Khaled of food trucks.
Another one.
I love it. I love that whole branding process.
Those fries got love in them. I just know. I can tell through the photo.
Oh, well, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on with us. And congratulations for winning Chopped.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will see you soon.
All right.
Oh, that looks so good.
I'm like salivating. Like I already have a list, Miguel, of restaurants that we need to visit the next time I'm in town.
Mm-hmm.
And we never make it to the ones.
Hold on, let's just go through.
That sandwich does look amazing, though.
It does. Ooh. You know what I like about it? The fact that it is smashed. Like sometimes what's intimidating to me about like, oh, this crazy chicken sandwiches or whatever is that they're huge and you can't fit them in your mouth. And it doesn't provide a whole bite. It's like, oh, I had to gnaw away at this sandwich.
I love that he doesn't use elbow mac and cheese for his.
I
don't use
I didn't
it for
see
mine
it.
either.
It's hard to see it. Like, what is it? What does he use?
I want to say it's cavatappi. If
Ooh,
that's
I do
the
love
right,
a cavatappi.
that's what I use for my mac and cheese. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I'm so hungry. This all looks
I know.
so good. So I wonder, I should have asked, like, what is it when you say smashed? Is it just that like they chop up the chicken, or they just
no, they probably pound it and make it thin. And that way you can like bread it and fry it and whatever. And instead of like one big old piece of breast meat, maybe it's like butterflied and then you pounded it out so that it's not one huge ass thing. It probably cooks faster too.
That's just so cool. Like when you have people that like live their dream of, doing it, because like you said, that had to have been so scary in the beginning to literally like you're going to buy the food every day and you don't know what it's going to look like. And so you're just like hoping for dear Lord that you're going to recoup that money every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kelvin,
and he had to keep that quiet for a while.
Yeah.
Like months. Like the article I read today, I don't want to go find it. I'm almost positive it said 10-month-old son. And if he was on the show before the boy was born, he's had to keep this under wraps for a year, but I might be wrong. He may not be 10 months old, but I know that it's been a while that he's had to keep it quiet.
Well, I know I'm going to be doing, once they release their schedule for the week, I will be chasing another food truck down to get me one of these hamburgers, girl. How was everybody's weekend?
It was good.
Oh, why did everybody get quiet like that? What happened?
Well, because usually Holly goes first. So I'm like,
I know. I was trying to think about it. Like, I didn't know if I wasn't going to interrupt anybody or anything, but like, it's fine. It was relaxing on Saturday. I did have to work Maya's school festival a couple days, and I talked about it briefly on air, but I did face painting.
Do you have any photos of that, by the way?
I do, but unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the really tragic ones. Like I was in such a state of fluster that I didn't think to take a picture of it. I did 4, and I was there for 2 hours, and it takes so long, and I was trying to hurry up because these kids don't want to sit there for 30 minutes. But at the same time, face painting does something to little kids, and I noticed this even with Maya from like the early days when she would want to get her face painted. She doesn't now because she's like, it gets yucky. And I'm like, no, it does. Just probably not. Don't do it. But little kids will sit still and not complain for the entire length of time because it's like very almost like ASMR, but for touch. Like it just feels so good, like on your face, because it's like it's calming you. And like a couple of the people, and I did an older girl and a younger girl, they were just like sort of fidgeting, but in like a good way. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I would want someone to paint my face if I didn't have to have paint on my face, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Like,
like
I
a
want someone to
facial.
I just want someone to brush me with like a little paintbrush.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's a kid
So
version of a facial, except kids don't need facials.
Right. They just want to look like a unicorn. So
Right.
it was insane. So the first girl like is sweaty. It's hot. I'm sweaty. She plops down and she wants this thing with it's like a cupcake up here and then like rainbow eyes. And I was like, I'm not prepared for this. I'm not prepared. Oh my God. And I start and it's running and I'm like, oh my G. Like the parents are probably going to be like, we're paying you. Like not me, but they're paying money. Oh, it was a mess. I really did my best. I tried blending. I tried like the cupcake. My hand is like kind of shaking as I'm trying to do the line.
Did you get
So
any
that was
tips?
a little rough. No, I did not. And then that was like, I managed with the cupcake. The Hello Kitty one, it looked like the fail version of an actual Hello Kitty. Like like nailed it. Not. And that one was the worst one. And I'm just like, I felt this girl was like 3. I'm like, so she doesn't care, but maybe the parents are going to be like, why does that bow look like holly berries? Like, what are you doing? I wish I had a picture of that, but I did step up the game after that. This is what this little boy requested.
Oh, a tiger.
And I saw this and he goes, can I do this tiger? And I look at him and I was just like, that's pretty intricate. Of course, he doesn't know what that word is. And I was like, are you sure you want that one? And he's like, yes.
No.
Y'all?
No.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Holly. That looks decent.
Not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's not. I mean, it looks
Go back to
the original picture.
Well, then I took the picture and then I'm like, okay. He's like, where are the fangs? I was like, oh. I'm sorry, put the fangs on. I'm like, I don't really know where to put the fangs. I'm going to just put them on your bottom lip. I don't know. And then I did a minion, which it was one small cheek thing.
Mm-hmm.
It took way longer than it should have, but I did that one.
Girl, what the heck minion look cross-eyed?
It's supposed to. Look at the thing. It's supposed to. It's supposed to look cross-eyed.
I mean, I don't know. Yours just look like
they look like failed versions.
It looks like you just try to draw from memory with your eyes closed.
Which is ridiculous because I was like going back and forth from my phone I would like take pictures of it and I'd be like, and then I'd get like the baby wipe and I'd be like, okay, why is Kelvin crying? I'm sweating. I'm like, I need some water. And meanwhile, Maya's running around. I'm like, baby, I was gonna go get mommy some water. I can't. She's like, can you do me for free? Meanwhile, there's a line. I'm like, hell no. I'm like, get out of here. I can't do this. So that was fun.
How did you even have to do that? Like, of all the people, I feel like that's something that you pay someone who's a professional to come in and do.
No, well, it's all volunteer based. This festival, it's all parent volunteers. So, like I had to sign up and I was like, I could do the crafts and face painting booth because I'm thinking I like crafts and I like working with kids and I bet that would be fun. But they don't need no help with the craft part. They need help with the face painting part. And I'm like, I can do it. And they were like, okay. I'm like, okay.
Well,
so
at
yeah,
least
we
they
did
didn't have you like try to do like balloon art or something like that where you had to make elephants and clowns and stuff.
I would have been like, you know what? Just nope, we're not going to do balloon art today. So I did that and I did bingo, which I screwed that up too.
Fun.
Like how do
you screw up bingo? You just call out the numbers.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't calling out the numbers. I was selling the tickets. I was selling the bingo boards. So first I had to do math and then I tried to do something wrong change and then I was embarrassed. And then some other lady, they during that round, they were doing like, half price sangria. And so she's like, I'll buy a board. And she was grumpy. And she was like, I don't even want this prize, but I want the half price sangria. So here. And I was like, oh, okay, here, thank you. I'll take the money for your bingo board, but I'm like, the sangria is right over there. And she's like, I have to get it. And I was like, I mean,
yes, bitch.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are, but I'm afraid. So then I walked over to like the woman leading it up. And then as this woman is going to the sangria thing, I'm like, are we supposed to get them the sangria? Because I didn't. And she's like, oh, yeah, you should definitely do that. I'm like, you didn't tell me. So then there's other runners getting other people's sangria. And this lady's looking at me like,
she said,
I was like,
And
I
you know
fuck up
what?
something every time.
She was the mom of the kid with the messed up tiger face. She's like, not only did this bitch mess up my kid's face paint, now she make me go slop over here to get my own sangria.
Lord Jesus. I was like almost dissociating halfway through because I was like, this is why I'm not a very good parent volunteer. I
like being home.
Yeah.
always screw something up when it comes to helping out at these events. So that was a large part of my weekend. And then I'm going to save this one for like an on-air thing, but what happened at, where were we? Michael's.
How did I
When I bought
know?
all
How
the
did I
Christmas
feel it?
decorations. Did you?
It would be at Michael's.
I think I'm gonna save it for a check-in, so I don't want to tell the full story here, but like the cashier was terrible.
Oh no.
And even like made a comment about how she's like, well, I have to wrap up all the candles so you won't have to call and be like, oh my God, my cashier brought my candle. And I'm like, clearly she's been called about before because
Ew.
you wouldn't say that
Right.
if you had never been called about.
Sounds
So,
personal.
yeah, it was a rough that, but I got some Halloween Christmas decorations this weekend, which is exciting.
Fun.
Oh.
So yeah, it was kind of chill downtime. So
Producer Kelvin,
fine.
what'd you do?
I thought I was gonna have a wild weekend just because I wanted to like go and party Friday, and then Saturday I was like, you know what? After Wakanda Forever, like maybe we should go out, and then
Mhm.
Sunday drag brunch. I didn't do any of that.
Oh no.
At all. I was really
Okay.
happy to go out a little bit on Friday though, because I feel like when you do something on a Friday, it feels like your weekend is much longer, and I can
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Right.
So we did that. We hung out with Miguel's very beefy friends on Friday night. Very pretty to look at.
They'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. And then whatever, we went back home. Oscar's falling asleep. We had Taco Bell though, which was very nice. He never has Taco Bell. He actually doesn't like Taco Bell. But I introduced him to the chicken chalupa, and he very much enjoyed it. Yes.
Oh.
And then Saturday, I decided to finish my show with Zoe Saldana that I talked about in the check-in earlier today. And I was just bawling my eyes out. Like I knew the last 3 or 2 episodes were going to get me, but I didn't expect for it to have me like ugly crying,
Ooh.
snot, no, like all of it, just tears. And my
Ugh.
face was swollen for a good few hours afterwards, just because it was so beautiful to see that kind of love on screen. And it is a typical, oh my God, I go to Europe and I fall in love, but it was also relatable too at times. Zoe Saldana's character is trying to figure out, you know, do I stick with the job that pays me well and gives me benefits, or do I go with the job that, you know, will fill my passion and my soul with what I love to do? But the guy ends up getting sick, which you do end up finding out in the beginning. So no spoilers there. And I loved it. And then of course, you know, everything that happens when one dies. It's very sad.
And what's the name of the show?
From Scratch.
I've been
Yes.
seeing a lot of people post about it and saying that it's just one of those tear fest that just go
Yes.
ahead, buckle in, and get your Kleenex because it's gonna make you cry.
Yes.
Oh man.
The worst part is that it's a real story. So
Oh, oh god.
Yes.
I
Oh.
can't. I just feel like over the
Oh.
past several years I've had enough like real life in my
Right.
drama. I
Too
cried
much
enough
drama.
about other kind of things. I'm like, I just want to watch something that's not going to make me ugly cry for 2 hours.
I'm not a good crier. It has to be like a really intense thing for me to just like break down and cry. So I felt like that was nice. It was just someone else's pain to watch.
And sometimes it can unlock the
So-
feelings that you're not even addressing with yourself. And just like crying is cathartic, period.
Yeah. it
So
is.
you get those tears out. Like one of my favorite little nuggets, like tidbits of knowledge, because I have so much useless knowledge from doing this job for so long.
Is it a juicy
One of
one?
my, yeah, it's a juicy little tidbit.
Mm.
Shouts out.
The Tampa
Um,
juicy tidbit checked in too.
Tampa tidbit. So,
Mhm.
one of my favorite little tidbits is that they've done research on the structure of tears, right?
Hmm.
And like tears from different emotions have different structures. So it's clearly like
Oh.
a release from your body, and like they structurally, like think about how like a snowflake has that kind of structural whatever.
Right.
So tears from grief look very different than tears from joy. And it's like your body needs to release those outlets, and it like does something for you. So it's just, I find that to be fascinating. And that's another reason why I'm like, crying's good. Get it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You do feel a release after it happens, where you're just like your shoulders relax a little bit more. Where it's like
Mhm.
sometimes you just need a good cry.
I know. My daughter, who's 9, is always like, anytime she ever has a big cry, which isn't really too often nowadays, but she's always like exhausted. She's like, I always want to go to sleep after that. I'm like, because you got a lot of stuff out,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Is there like a show or a TV show or a movie that you know is going to make you cry like every time, or a song that it's like, this is going to just tear me up inside if I watch or listen to this?
Mm.
My Sister's
about-
Keeper. That
Oh,
one. That one gets me.
That
Why do
sounds
I feel like
familiar.
I've seen that?
Cameron
Who's in it?
Diaz.
Oh, is that the cancer?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
think we watched that together, Holly. Do you
Yeah, we
remember? I think we
did.
did, and I
think we did.
both were just like,
mess.
"Ah!"
So many things make me cry that it's almost like, what doesn't? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's a better game. What?
the better game is
does?
what's fair play that doesn't make Holly cry? Like, do you know what the most random thing popped into my head is? What gets me every time, and I know it's coming, and I can almost time it down to the minute. Remember the movie Independence Day
Mm-hmm.
with Will Smith?
Mm-hmm.
When the president's wife is in the bed dying and the little girl comes in and she's like talking to her mom, and mom's like, you just keep growing, knowing that she's dying. I'm like,
Oh no.
that. Usually I have at least once a season, like a real good ugly cry from Handmaid's Tale. That.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will usually cry from like my typical romantic comedy Christmas movies that I watch, the big 3 being Love Actually, The Holiday, Family Stone, those. Just any movie that does a good job at doing what it's meant to do, which is tugging on those heartstrings.
Yeah.
And because I'm very empathetic, like I will feel what they're trying to portray. I feel it through the screen. So it's going to make me cry.
Yes.
I've even done it with like kids' movies. And then if I'm sitting with Maya, she'll look over and be like, are you crying again? And I'm like,
Here we go.
and then I get embarrassed. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, come on. Like, I can't help it. I'm going to cry. I'm a crier. This is who we are in my family. So whatever.
Some of the some of the other things that make people cry from the Platypus Posse. Let's see here. Stefan said, oh my God, the last episode of Handmaid's Tale made me full on cry, and I never cry.
Really?
Amy Gordon said Con Air
Oh,
makes you cry. That's the
don't
one with
remember
Nicolas
Cage.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
And then I can't tell who this is. The Bridge of
it might be Tampa Tidbit.
Tampa Tidbit.
I've never seen it, but I constantly see the meme about it. I've never seen it though.
The Bridge of Terabithia.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I
think,
haven't
did
seen it
see
either.
that?
It's with God, the guy from Hunger Games.
Which one? Gail or PETA?
PETA.
So
I
it's
like
a
him.
recent.
No, it's not recent.
Josh
It's an old one.
Hutchinson.
Oh,
Josh
it's like when he's
Hutcherson.
younger.
Mm-hmm. When he was a
I
kid.
like Josh Hutchinson.
I do too. He had his really ridiculous off the wall show on Hulu called oh gosh, what is it called? Hold on. I hate when I do this. Hulu.
Whatever happened to Josh Hutcherson?
Future Man. That's right. Future Man. It's like this sci-fi comedy show, and I don't like comedies normally, but it is.
Miguel doesn't like Joy.
I do not. Give me pain, give me sadness, give me torture. Let me live in the pain cave. But
All of
I
it.
did like Future Man though, because it was like inappropriate comedy and like over the top with
you like
sci-fi
that.
stuff, and I loved it.
Yeah.
There's
I don't want to. If it's so freaking sad, I don't want to watch Bridge of Terabithia.
let's see here. Laura Beth said $1 Million Baby. That was
I
really
already
sad.
read what happens. I don't want to see that either.
Amy Gordon said Notebook is another one.
Notebook, yeah. Once we get done with this topic, remind me. I want to talk about Don't Worry, Darling.
Mm.
I want to see that.
Another well, not a movie, but a song that if I just hear it casually, I don't cry. But if I'm like in my car or I'm by myself
Mhm.
and I start to think about it, then I start to tear up. And it would be
It's so weird to me that this makes you cry.
It's such a bop.
it is, like I said, if it's like casual and I'm like, with people at a party, I'm like, yeah, it's on the radio. But to me,
Yeah.
when I really listen to it, I hear that's Whitney's voice when she was really young and she
Mhm.
Yeah.
recorded it. And so you can just hear how pure it is. And then, like, when I think about later on in life, when, you know, because of drugs and alcohol abuse, her voice was damaged and it wasn't what it was, and just getting older.
Yeah.
So it just makes me sad for her. And I just think about like all of them. See, I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. Fuck. I just like all the music that could have been with her because of alcohol abuse. And it's just like all of that together. And I'm just like, it's just so sad to me.
And seeing her old performances too, right? Like they get me every time.
Girl, there is a song performance that my friend Kawan showed me one time when he was drunk and we were drunk, and I'd never seen it before. It was from her HBO special, Home for the Troops, in like the early 90s.
Oh.
Every time I watch it, I'm just like, I can't.
I feel that way about Selena. Every time I see Selena interviews or Selena performances, like the same exact feeling that you feel for Whitney. And even Whitney gets me emotional too, but
yeah,
I totally get it.
What's the Selena song? 'Cause I'm dreaming of you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in like elementary school when that came out, and there was like this boy where like I didn't understand my feelings. I just knew that I liked to be around him. And so I would like sing that song and think of him. I think his name was like Fabian. And I'd be like, I don't know what this is, but I'm dreaming. I'm thinking of you tonight till tomorrow. So every time I watch Selena and I hear this song, I think about little Miguel, who was like, I knew that these feelings probably weren't right because, people had called me gay and stuff. And I knew that that wasn't a good thing to be or what I'd heard. And so it was like a really complicated time because I was like 10,
Right.
Ugh.
That's so tough.
Holly, what were you going to mention? The show or
Don't Worry, Darling?
Yes.
Oh, the movie Don't Worry, Darling. I watched it and I just want to talk about it. Not like spoilers or anything. That's the one with all of it's the Olivia Wilde directed, Florence Pugh,
Yes.
Harry Styles. We sat down and watched it this weekend because there were several movies that we wanted to watch this weekend, and that one was free. So I was like, okay, that's it. And so I went in kind of like just no expectations, open mind, and I left with mixed feelings. First and foremost, it really is like my heart was pounding so hard at the end of the movie that I got hot and I had to take the blanket I was cozied up in off.
Oh.
So it's a suspenseful thriller. It is. But the only problem is that I feel like it could have been better. Like it could have been more, or like the pieces could have made more sense. Like there's a lot in the movie, like a lot of roads to nowhere, like a lot of like cool things, because it's sort of like a Stepford Wives meets some kind of Jordan Peele film meets The Matrix. Like it's on kind of a different level, and I like it.
Really? I didn't know it had those elements to it.
Yeah, I like it. I really like where they went. And then like the twist, you're like, well, what the actual fuck? Okay, hold on. Like that whole nonsense where I think it was even Olivia Wilde herself, where she's like, well, I just really wanted female pleasure to be front and center. Cause like there was a lot of talk about like, oh, Harry Styles goes down on Florence Pugh. Like it's not really even about the sex scene. And I was like, I think by putting that forefront, you were expecting one thing, but it's just part of a larger whole. It has nothing to like. It's like I feel like the movie was sort of mismarketed or whatever, and it just there were all these little loose ends that should have plugged in somewhere that didn't, and we had so many questions at the end. But the premise was good, and so that's why I feel like it's one of the year's most talked about movies, because of all the drama behind the scenes with all of that nonsense. But generally, I was like, good for Olivia Wilde. That's a really great premise. But it just feels like someone should have gone over it another time and been like, but why is this happening? And can we fix it, or at least give a reason why it's happening? So thoughts on that. That's my thoughts on Don't Worry, Darling.
Is it worth watching?
Yeah, I think so. Because like I said, like my heart was pounding. Like it was a good, and like the build is good. There's a lot of like, oh my gosh, like scenes in it. And like they all do well. Florence Pugh is great. I even think Harry Styles was fine. I could see why she wanted Shia LaBeouf in that role though. Man, could I see how she would like he would have been better. Like
Right.
100%. Shia LaBeouf, I think even the role could have maybe been built for him if she had wanted. He was the original actor, so he would have been better in that role. But Harry Styles did fine. I thought Chris Pine was good. Olivia Wilde herself was in it. She was decent, like she was good, but it didn't go where it needed to go. But it was good. I would recommend it. Like if you're like, what should we watch? Watch that one.
Did you see Harry Styles as Harry Styles, or did you see him as someone else? Because I've been told, I don't see it, but when Gaga did House of Gucci, people would see Lady Gaga, and then they would see her character. Is Harry Styles good at maintaining that character that he was playing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Because I don't really know. Does anyone really know Harry Styles as a person?
Just cool, laid back, charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he does a pretty decent job. Like, I think he does decent. Like, there's probably, like, could he, like, that's why I'm saying, like, Shia LaBeouf would have been better.
Right.
It just is what it is. He's not even a very experienced actor. So,
Right.
like, yeah. Are there moments where you're like, it's Harry Styles, whatever. But it didn't take me out of the film.
Okay. Good.
That's what I've
So-
always said, that the difference between a great actor and a good actor is, and this has changed, over the past 15 years with Will Smith. Like the difference between like Will Smith and Denzel Washington, like when you see Denzel Washington in a movie, you don't see Denzel Washington. He
Right.
totally becomes that character, where
Mhm.
especially like in the 90s and like early 2000s, Will Smith was Will Smith, and it was like
Yeah.
his cadence, his joking manner, and you were like, oh, that's
Yes.
Will Smith in a movie.
Right.
But he's
then
gotten better.
He did, like with The Pursuit of Happiness back in the day, like I Am Legend, and as those like really meaty roles came about, then you did not see Will Smith anymore, and he became that character.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel
It
like
would take a while for Harry Styles to get there.
Right.
Like I knew that it was Harry Styles, but I'm also, to be absolutely fair, I'm not like one of these Harry Styles super fans.
Mm.
So maybe there was able to be a little bit more of a wall for me. I love the music, but I'm not a super fan. So there might have been a barrier there that if I was a huge fan, maybe I would have noticed that.
Oh, good. Well, some suggestions for you of things to watch. Real quick before we get out of here, I did want to mention before I forget that I'm fucking exhausted. We've had people in town
Who
like every
all was
weekend.
in town?
It was Hill and Cody, my friends from Panama City.
I thought it was Hill and Cody this weekend. I told my person that. I'm like, man, Miguel has been having people in town for like the past month. It's like,
months.
doesn't he want a break? And then immediately followed it up with, well, maybe not for Miguel. I'm like, both. I was like, Miguel does love to entertain, but I also think he's ready for a break.
You could have the opposite problem though. And granted, that's not invalidating your tiredness, but you could have the opposite problem. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Just loneliness a little bit. You know what I mean? Not having
absolutely.
familiar faces in a city where, I mean, we don't know the majority.
Right.
Kelvin says, that's me. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm so going to complain. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's very exhausting, and you guys like to have a lot of fun. So I could see how.
Yeah, it was just
It is exhausting entertaining. Woo.
It is,
but it is so fun though to like with my job of moving, over around the Southeast since college. It's cool to see old friends with new friends, and then just sort of like see them all come together and get to know each other. But the only thing that was like nuts this weekend is that Saturday night, we went out and we went to an after party. And girl, I am not an after party person, honey.
What are you talking about after party?
It is so
Added
basically.
a hotel party. Like what?
It was literally at a warehouse, where there's this whole like industrial complex of like an event throwing company where they find these sort of not abandoned big warehouse spaces, and then they put up a DJ booth. There's lights, there's bathrooms. They had a smoking tent where people were going in and smoking the devil's lettuce, where you could just like go in and boop, boop, do it and walk out.
Disrespectful.
Girl, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I am too old for this. I am tired. And so, like,
what are you doing there?
well, because everybody wanted to go, all my friends that were visiting, and then the friends that we were hanging out with that have been showing us around Charlotte, they were like, let's go. And the bar we were at was closing. And so no one was tired. And I was like,
Well, what time did you go to this warehouse?
3 o'clock in the morning.
Bob,
What
you
the
closed
actual
out the
hell?
club.
I did. And then we went to an after party.
You didn't have enough fun at the club?
Girl, I
You
did.
have enough fun.
I
You have
did.
enough fun. I'm sorry. We ate dinner at 4 p.m. on Saturday. 4 p.m. We started watching Don't Worry, Darling at about 5:30. And then by about 10:30, 11 o'clock, I was like, wow, we have really pushed it. It's time to get in bed.
Girl, no.
Like 3 in the morning. That's almost the time we get. Like that is the time when you get up for work. Like
yes,
what?
it is. I'm gonna. There's a video I have of like it was so random, and I remember there was one point, because I wasn't like really drunk Saturday night. That's how I was able to go and able to last because I wasn't drunk, and I was kind of just making sure my friends were good and introducing everybody together.
Yeah.
But there was just one point where I was like, I'm not old, but I feel old in this moment. Like right now, I feel like my ass needs to be planted in my bed right now because this is a lot. And I just don't know how people do that every weekend. Because like we have some friends that we've met here that like go out every weekend and they go to after parties all the time. And I'm like, how do you do it?
No way.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I literally, I don't think I could do that. Like, I mean, maybe I could, but I would be wrecked.
That's what I feel like.
If the night is fun, I can keep going till the sun comes up. But I won't sit here and tell you like, yeah, I do it every single time. No, the vibe has to be so much fun that I don't want the night to end. I
really want to connect two things right now. You just said vibe, and I also want to talk about being old. Two things.
Okay.
They both come from TikTok. So really quick, one of the evenings I was sitting scrolling my TikTok and I saw this guy who he was like part 17 of explaining Gen Z slang.
Mhm.
And he's like, so Gen Z often has millennials too. We'll talk about a place's vibe. And he's like, millennials really kick this off with like good vibes only. But he's like, but vibes are not only positive.
Right.
And so this was a long TikTok. So let me summarize. So he was explaining, and this is when I started to feel old because I had no idea that it was this complex. And I was like, we're coming up on a whole new shift of how people live, and I'm not in it. So I'm trying to get in it. But he's like, with Gen Zers, if someone like invites you over to come vibe, it's like a noun and a verb. It's like a verb, like you're gonna come over and vibe. And he's like, but you don't really know what the vibe is until you get there. Right. So you're going to walk over and maybe everyone is on their own device, like on their phone, cozied up in a corner, and they're just scrolling. If that's the vibe, you better get yourself a corner and just play on your phone by yourself together. Maybe you go and everyone's playing video games and they're all kind of rowdy. That's that vibe. So you got to match the vibe. And like whatever. So whatever atmosphere you come into, that's the vibe. And that's what you're going to vibe with. And I'm sitting here and my mind is exploding. And I'm like, I did not even know that this is where we are with vibing. So that made me feel old. And it made me feel like, God, I really got to do a better job of trying to keep up with Gen Z so that I don't get left behind. That then almost back to fucking back. I see what, you know, those one of the teenage dirtbag videos where it's like a older person and then they show you pictures of their trashy like teenage selves, which I love when celebrities do this. Starts out with this older man. He's older than me. I can tell he might be in his 50s, mid 50s, maybe. He looks like an office manager of a Staples. He looks like maybe he's the guy at Staples who tries too hard to make jokes when you're just trying to like do inventory. He kind of has a little bit of a dad bod and he's not unattractive, but he's just like, that.
Is it the come over here and give me a hug? Come on vibe?
Yeah, kind of that. Kind of that. And he just looks like he's a little goofy. And sometimes he can maybe be like, maybe a little bit of a prick about some shit. But overall, like he's just that guy in the office.
Right.
I'm like, And I almost scrolled past because I was like, who the fuck is this? But I'm like, well, let me not. I'm like, I actually can't wait for the reveal. And so he's doing his, I'm just a teenage. And it flips. It was Ellen from Clueless. Cher's crush.
What?
Yes. Like Elton, the hot from the high school that Cher and Dion and Ty go to. He's like rolling with the homies. Trying to help Ty. It was him. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Elton from Clueless is now this dad bod ass joke making Staples manager. So using that and then talking about where you're going to vibe with people.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. I texted it to my college best friend, one of my college best friends. And I texted to her because we used to watch Clueless all the time together. And I just said, what the fuck? And she goes, dude. And by the way, I texted her at 8:47 p.m. I go, dude. And she goes, Elton. I'm like, I know. And she goes, not gonna lie, I'm in bed right now. And I go, well, I ate dinner at 4 p.m. And she goes, excellent. I was like, fuck.
Old. Wait.
So anyway, that's my story about Gen Z and old and everything else.
I have it pulled up here. Let me share it with you watching. I'm sorry, with you listening. If you just go to TikTok, and his name is Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah, I guess.
That's his name.
Blown away.
Hold on, will it play the audio?
Look at this guy.
Wait.
Oh my God, he was so cute.
So
Yes.
cute. And did I not do a pretty decent description of what he looks like nowadays?
No, Staples, he looks like a general manager.
That's what I said. He's a manager of Staples.
He looks like my science teacher from back in high school. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's
I
a
think
little bit different.
That's one of the crazy things about just getting older, not old, but just older. Is that the people that you liked in pop culture are now, they're older too, you know?
Yeah.
And so just seeing them, I was looking at Hillary Duff's Instagram because she was, sharing thoughts about Aaron
Carter's passing, yeah.
And so then I went through a little wormhole of like looking through her Instagram, and I hadn't looked at her, what she looks like now in years. And so just seeing Hillary Duff, like, you're Lizzie McGuire. Like, I used to watch you on that show all the time. And now she's like a woman with kids and a husband. And she's like, here's my makeup line or whatever.
Momming it out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just so nuts to see. And I'm sure if you're older, like if you're maybe in your 50s and you're like, bitch, of course, what do you think's going to happen? But still, it's just so weird to see now. Like,
it's just weird. Like, it starts in your 30s when little like one-off moments when you're in your 30s and like a 21-year-old will say something and you're like, what the fuck?
like, huh?
And it just, the moments get more frequent as you get older. And like, I want to be that person that's like still connected to the next generation coming up. But I can see how real easy it is to just get comfortable with the life the way you know it.
Right.
And like when my kid tells me I'm old, I'm like, would you stop? Like 40 is not old. And it's not. But to her,
Girl, you might as well be born in like 1905. Like,
and I know, and she doesn't have any concept of anything. Like, she'll be like, "Oh my God, Mom, that's like from your day in the 70s," and I'm like,
She said the late
I'm like,
1900s.
no, that was. She's like, that. I'm like, that was Nana. Okay, I wasn't even alive then. And then she gets all confused. Oh my God, one. I don't even know. She asked me like last week, we were talking about something about the pandemic or something, and she goes, "Wait. Were you around when it was the Black Death?"
She's like, hey, Mom.
Yeah, she's trying it.
She's like, Mom, did you have fear about Jack the Ripper going around?
Did you have electricity growing up?
I mean, like, they
So,
do
Mom,
say
what was
things
your
like
favorite dinosaur back then?
They have no concept of time, like these kids. Because I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, the Black Death was like, we had to look it up so I could prove to her how ridiculous it was. I'm like, it was the 1300s. What?
I mean, it's true. I mean, I remember being in probably second or third grade, and we were, I think it was like at the beginning of the day when like the teacher would like have us all sit in the front and she'd go over like the announcements and stuff if you have any questions. And I remember asking her did she have electricity when she was growing up? And she was so offended. And she was like, how old do you think I am? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have, I was like 9. I was like, I don't know.
Kids don't have a concept.
I don't know.
And I like, it's hard
They don't.
not to be offended, but also at the same time, you're like, I know you don't understand. Like they have 8 or 9 years worth of experience, and half of that is non-memorable. Like they don't remember it. So,
Holly, what was it like when you got into your first edition of the Model T Ford from Henry Ford? Like
we had to crank it up, you know.
So were you close personal friends with Charlie Chaplin? Or
yes, silent films. What it doesn't make it better though, like when you actually see how much technology has advanced in the last 10 years alone or 15, because for example, like it's fully plausible. Like in their brains, it doesn't make sense. So they're like, oh, yeah, like you were around when the first cars were there. Because I've told a story of like, oh, well, when I learned how to drive, you know, most cars, unless you were very rich, didn't have automatic windows. You had to crank the window up and down. And that sounds like it could have happened in 1907.
You had a Flintstones car, basically.
Right. Like some of this stuff, like, we didn't like cell phones didn't exist. I grew up in a time where computers didn't exist. And so it can be confusing, but I'm like, no, the Black Death, like get the fuck out of here.
Well, speaking of technology, right after we give our social media stuff, I'm going to play a video that we'll close out with that I was like, talk about how technology and social media has changed. Like, it started off innocently, and now because of how these tech companies have had to make money, I saw this yesterday and I was like, yeah, this is pretty much true. But I'm going to play that to close out the show. But Holly, what is all of your social media?
Radio Holly on Instagram. I am on the TikToks and Twitter.
Come on, Grandma. And producer Kelvin, what's your?
At Kelvin Live. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and you already know what's coming.
What is coming? Not
Do
you.
we? Ain't nobody synced anything about it.
Okay. Not you.
Maybe it'll be a Christmas gift.
Girl, bye.
Presents coming.
Ain't nothing. Mine is at Miguel Fuller everywhere. So this is from this Instagram account called The Slow Factory, and it says, between Elon Musk taking over Twitter and just everything happening on the internet right now, this is more relevant than ever. And this is Bob Burnham. He is a director in Hollywood. This is him giving a speech at some sort of convention or something. So I'm just going to play it. You can see it here if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, but obviously you'll hear the audio. But thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
They're coming for every second of your life. That's what these companies are coming to. This company as well. And it's not because anyone is bad. It's not because anyone in this company has evil plans or is trying to do this. They're not even doing it consciously. It's because these companies like Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, everything, they went public and they went to shareholders. So they have to grow. Their entire models are based off of growth. They cannot stay stagnant. YouTube, Twitter grossed $4 or $5 billion last year. It is in the red. It is unprofitable. It has to get more of you. No matter how nice it's trying to be, it is all that they're trying to get more engagement from you. We used to colonize land. That was the thing you could expand into, and that's where money was to be made. We colonized the entire earth. There was no other place for the businesses and capitalism to expand into. And then they realized human attention, that they are now trying to colonize every minute of your life. That is what these people are trying to do. Every single free moment you have is a moment you could be looking at your phone and they could be gathering information to target ads at you. That's what's happening. So like, as much as we can, as have really good conversations and try to humanize the conversations, the like mechanism of the business is rolling towards that just because of the market. So like, it's coming. It's coming for every free second you have. And that's dark. That's really, really dark and scary. And for someone like me, I grew up
Have a great day.
Great, thanks.
Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you listen to podcasts.